joining us on Your Career Day, where we try to give you a career you may or may not have heard about. In this episode, we are talking to director, actress, producer Kelley Kali. Our interviewer tonight is H. H, please take it away.
Well, first off, can you tell us, just give us a brief kind of synopsis or bio about who you are?
So my name is Kelley Kali. I am a film director and writer producer, like the intro that Brian just gave. But I come from my background is in anthropology. I was an archaeologist before I became a filmmaker. I went to Howard University for undergrad, and then for my master's degree, I went to the University of Southern California for filmmaking. But I find that a lot of my skills or training in anthropology and experience in archaeology has translated directly into my filmmaking and my storytelling. Hence, Indiana Jones up there, that's one of my inspirations.
Mm. I guess one of the things that you brought up was that you didn't know about the filmmaking experience and the various other aspects to it.
The support that I got in stepping into filmmaking, you're asking?
Yes.
It's so funny. I think that's probably why I mentor a lot right now, because I didn't feel like I had a mentor. I felt like when I first started getting into filmmaking, I took a few classes at Howard, even though I was anthropology, but like to try to learn filmmaking. So I had a few professors at Howard that, helped where they could, but I had no real mentor, and I was figuring it out on my own, going out shooting things, losing footage, not knowing how to back, like you just learning by doing, right? Um, and then it wasn't until I got into USC that it really shifted into being more professional, and I got more guidance on how to really be a filmmaker and how to make a living from it. That's different. There's a lot of programs out there that will teach you how to make a film and how to tell a story, but it's also a business. This is called show business. And a lot of people think about the show part and don't think about the business part. And so that's one of the things I learned going to the master's program at USC, is how to apply the creative portions into business. And so I got more mentors there, but still, it's all a hustle. It's really a grind. You have to be the one who wants to do it. Nobody's going to handhold you into these things. You can build your tribe, and you can go to people when you don't know how to do something and ask them. Um, Once you've built up those mentors in that tribe, but it's still always on you. You have to have the motivation, the drive, and it's kind of like Nipsey says, it's a marathon, because the film industry is definitely a marathon. You have to want to do it and love it, because you're going to be working for free a lot when you first start out, and then you'll start to learn how to make the money.
What's interesting, and I'm glad that you make that distinction, that it is show business, because I think a lot of people approach it, the industry in general, with these starry eyes that
Yeah.
all they need to do is just become that star
Yeah.
and they'll be fine. And I think the other component that I think is so important for people to consider is you have to have the passion for it.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you just do, because um, there are times that you're just going to have to do things for free. Do you see that out in the industry where people just want to become instant stars? Like they get one role or they do one thing and they're just like, okay, I am here and I've done it and this is
Yeah.
me.
That's the majority of people here in Hollywood. It's the majority. You can tell the ones who really love doing it, because they're they're reading scripts on their own on the weekends. They're not out at the club. They're like, I hit up my filmmaker, my real filmmaker friends. They're like, oh girl, I'm writing my first 10 pages. I'm rereading a Tarantino script so I could see how he wrote this and describe a scene like that. Because watching movies is one thing, but the way it's written is different than how it's shot. Things change, and so you need to study scripts. There's work to be done when no one's looking. Hollywood builds up a image of glam and success, and you think that a lot of people who are overnight successes, you think that that's what it was, but truthfully, they had been working for a long time. Even the kids, like you think of like Justin Bieber, he was discovered when he was a kid, but he was singing since he was a little kid. Like there was work done, like there's always an effort that needs to be made and a consistency. It's about being consistent. This industry isn't always about talent. If you have talent, that's a blessing. This industry goes to the people who are consistent.
I was wondering what kind of disparities do you see in raising funding and movies that are made, at least in your experience?
You either, as an indie person, as an indie artist, we're not talking studio. Studio is a whole different thing. If you're starting out and you're independent, you have to fundraise. You either need to do a crowdfunder and use your network, or talk to a particular investor, meet some producers who might know investors, but it's basically a hustle. Everything's a hustle. You have to just find a way to do it. I mean, my first feature, I'm Fine, Thanks for Asking. It won at South by Southwest. It got worldwide distribution. I started that with that shot it during the pandemic. I started that with my stimulus check and some unemployment. Now, you can't make a feature film with the stimulus check and unemployment, but it became an if you build it, they will come sort of situation. We started. So that was enough to get it going and get the shoot going. And then another producer that I've worked with before had happened to call me, and she's like, what are you doing? You're out shooting a feature? I'm in. What do you need? I'm like, I need post-production funds. I need this and this. So like that helped. One, having a network, build a network, work on sets, volunteer, get to know people, because me having that relationship with that producer helped. She trusted me enough from our previous work together to get the funding and the financing necessary to finish the movie. So there's no real formula in the indie world on how to get your movies made. There are individual investors that will invest. There are, at USC, there used to be a running joke that go make friends at the dental school, because for some reason, a lot of dentists like to invest in indie film. Because they say like the job gets monotonous after a while, and so filmmaking is exciting. So they used to always kid around and say, go make friends at the dental school now. But yeah, there's grants you can apply to, but again, everything I'm saying to you right now is hustling. It is putting forth that extra effort. It's tiring, it's exhausting, and that's why I go back to you have to love it. You can't be in this for wanting to be famous, a star or whatever. You're going to be so disappointed because the work you have to put in is far outweighs all that. It's work. But if you love what you do, if you love storytelling, and if you love making an impact, because the power of storytelling, filmmaking, can change legislation. It can change the way we buy diamonds. Look at Blood Diamond with Leonardo DiCaprio in it. People went to go see Leo, and they end up changing the whole way we purchase diamonds to be more humane from that film. So like what we do is important and impactful. And so for me, that's what drives me, because I really care about positive social change. So many communities for people of color, Black folks, women, for my home in California, for whatever school I'm attending. I always care about whatever community I'm in. I care about communities I ain't in if they are being abused. So that's what gets me going and keeps me going when things when people aren't watching, right? And you still keep taking those shots.
What motivates your passion for giving a voice to the softer or unvoiced people of the
Mhm.
world?
I think it was my daddy right here. So that's my dad was a Baptist pastor. So I grew up in the church. I grew up seeing him give, like, that man would take off his, if someone didn't have shoes, he would take his shoes off and give them his shoes if they, fit them. And he would walk barefoot that day. Like, that's just how dad was. That not just dad, that's like my family. My grandparents, his parents, they would, like, if someone didn't have a home, they're gonna be sleeping in their house. There's gonna be, like, you always, my family focus on community. It's just like how I was raised. There was never a time that was just our nucleus family. And I think that that's because dad got that from his parents, where it was never just his nucleus family. If somebody in the community didn't have a roof over their head, they will be sleeping. The kids will give up their bed and the kids will share a bed. And that's how me and my brother were. And we always had, even with my film, I'm Fine, Thanks for Asking, it's about a mother who is pretending that she's just camping with her daughter while she's secretly trying to get the last bit of money to get them off the streets. Well, the character's name is Danny in there, and there were a lot of Dannys that came through our house that I saw with their kids that, like, and so I think it taught me to care. Seeing my parents care, seeing my parents give up their space, their home, their time, their shoes, their clothes, their kids' clothes. Shoot, we have to, I mean, sometimes I would get a little perturbed giving up my bed. I have to be truthful, but nonetheless, it did teach me that be grateful you have a bed, because look at how many people don't.
Many of your films have black and brown subject matter.
Mhm.
So, other than the obvious, why is the black and brown experience important to you in order for you to convey it through your medium?
Well, for one, historically with filmmaking over 100 years, um, Black and brown people have been poorly depicted on the screen. And so now that we have a chance to put our foot in the door, and we have access to cameras, and it's easier, because back in the day when everything was on film, that was hard. You had to have money. You had to find a way to, or get film ins and ask for film ins and try to piece them all together, like Robert Townsend did, the Hollywood Shuffle. But like, it's hard to get that type of money to afford film, and then even if you can afford it, cut it, edit it, like all that, like splice it together. Like, that's work. And so now that things are digital, and now that you don't really even need a high-end camera. I mean, you look at people like Sean Baker, who shot a film called Tangerine that went to Sundance all on the iPhone. And so we have phones. We have access to high quality cameras. What we need is to know how to tell a story, because you can tell a story and you have the means to capture it. And so now that we are capable, it's not a financial barrier per se. Um, it's important that we correct the depiction of Black and brown and just people of color and trans people. I just finished doing a short film for a trans actor, trans woman, who used to be a very famous um, cis male actor in Germany, and has transitioned into um, or is transitioning into a woman, and is now reintroducing herself to the world as a female actor. And so, like, those voices you do not hear at all. Like, the trans voices are hushed, 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 because it makes people uncomfortable. And so I certainly was the director for her, because I love to make people uncomfortable. Like, let's talk about it, y'all. What's the real issue here? Let's have a conversation. So I always kid around and say that, like, my work, I like to work in the when Mufasa is talking to Simba and the Lion King, and he's like, everywhere the light touches is yours. And then, Simba's like, what's that shadowy part over there, right? And that's like the hyena area, the place no one wants to go. That's where I do films. You'll find me over in the shadowy hyena area because I find that I find that more interesting. I want to know why we don't go there. What. So the elephant graveyard, that's where I work.
Well, well, then I was going to ask you a different question, but as you were talking this question, it made me think of this question. What part does love play in the world of change?
Love is all there is. That's it. That's it. If you look at a lot of our problems, our issues, or just uh, pain in the world, it stems from lack of love. If you go down, if you psychoanalyze murderers and psychoanalyze anybody who's done something that would be perceived as harmful, oftentimes they lacked love. And love teaches empathy, and love teaches understanding, and love teaches to be more accepting of differences, and that everyone doesn't have to be like you or think exactly like you. But as long as we are not harming each other, we can coexist. And I think that that's what love teaches. But sometimes people want to twist love and for their agenda and say that this is love because we're protecting this group or we're protecting that group or whatever it is. Like, no, love goes all over, even to the elephant graveyard. Y'all gotta love them hyenas over there now. It ain't just where the light touches, all right? You gotta love everything. So it plays a big part in my storytelling. Even my villains, I love on my villains in my films. My short film, Lalo's House, the one that won the Student Academy Award for thesis, there was a lot of controversy at first when I was screening it for test screenings because this was inspired by a true story. I was working in Haiti and I came across this orphanage. It's Catholic, I always do air quotes, Catholic orphanage where the nun, air quotes, nun, was allowing foreign men to come in and have sex with the little girls. And the more I investigated it, she wasn't ordained by any church. The orphanage was not registered. Tried to report it, but she had police on her pay roster. They compared her to more of a mafia queen, right? And so she was able to run this business and without anybody interrupting her. And so I ended up writing a fiction narrative based on the true events that I witnessed and the things that I did record when I was there. But I chose to depict her as having a moment where she was challenged by her choices. Like she doesn't say anything or anything like that. She just makes a really, really jacked up decision that is going to harm a 5-year-old little girl. And she goes and she takes a shot. She just pours some alcohol and takes a shot to cope with what she's choosing to do. And some people didn't like that. Some people were like, she's a bad person. I don't want to feel like she's thinking, and I'm like, but is that life though? We're all so multidimensional. We're also you might be vegan, right? You're like, I'm not gonna even eat honey because it's with the bees and we don't want to hurt the bees either, right? And then you go and like there's a roach in your house and you slap it with your shoe and you kill the roach. But I thought you care about life, right? But you don't want no roaches in your house. We all have these dimensions, right? We all aren't perfect. And that's what I like to understand. And that's what I like to look at. And so I gave her that depth. I wanted her to take that shot because even the real nun, even the one that I was investigating, I am pretty certain that when she was a child, she didn't say to her mother, Mommy, when I grow up, I want to be a child trafficker. Like there are circumstances that people face when they are put into challenging situations of survival. I mean, in Haiti, a lot of people are hungry. There's a lot of people who are trying to just get by it from day to day. And so we are blessed enough to, a lot of us are blessed enough to wake up and know that when we turn on the shower, water's coming out. Like you don't wake up thinking, a lot of us don't, but wake up thinking like, I wonder if the water's gonna come on today. Oh, I wonder if it's gonna be hot. So we gonna get some hot water today. We are so blessed. We go outside, the street lights are working. We got like there's things, we have a car, like a lot of us, but like even if you don't, there's so many things we take for granted. And then so who are we to say, oh, I would never do that. I would never traffic kids. You think, yeah, I would hope you wouldn't, but you can't for certain say that if you were born under different circumstances, if you were born in a place where you don't have these same privileges, that you might not choose to do something that you think you wouldn't do. So I try my best, and that might be the anthropology training. That might be, to remove yourself and your judgments and your societal belief systems from the situation, or in my case, the character that I'm writing, and try to give some humanity to them. So.
Interesting that you have that passion for incorporating aspects that people might not think about with regard to villains.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to ask you though, just your thoughts on what perspective, whether it's locally or the world at large, do
Mm-hmm.
you think is missing from film?
What perspective locally or the world at large is missing from
Film.
film? I don't I'm not one to say that we're missing like perspectives in the films that are being made. I think that everyone's perspective is valuable, whatever film they're making or story they're telling. It's from their truth, their heart, for the most part. I think what we're missing is more voices, more perspectives. I think we're seeing a lot of the same perspectives. And yeah, there's like a lot of shifts happening. And there's diversity and inclusion movements here and there, and it got really buzzy after George Floyd, but then after that pendulum swing, people start slowing down, but that's all right. We're moving this ship slowly but surely, and but that really is, in my opinion, what's missing is more perspectives. And there's room for it with all these streamers, with all these new platforms, with TikTok, with Instagram, there's more viewers on those platforms than there are in the theaters or even on streamers. There's more people watching their phones and looking at TikTok videos and that type of, there's so much room for content. There's so much room for more voices and more perspectives.
Do you think Hollywood's changed you at all?
No, I don't think I've been in Hollywood long enough to get changed. I'll let you know. I'll let you know when I get that rich money. I'll be like, these little people, they want to share their perspectives. I don't know if everyone can. No,
I got you.
as of right now, I feel like no, I'm still Kelley and I still am about the people, but I do understand that when you start running companies, which I do, I want to run a studio. There's just business. There's just business, and I do understand why, like, sometimes corporations make decisions they make, and some of them are really jacked up and don't consider the human being, but also it's show business. And so in order for people to keep making movies and stay alive, there are like certain choices that need to be made. I know the people that I'm working with, my producing partners, are such brilliant women, such brilliant people that we're already, I have one of them just sent me a text talking about how we're going to be able to, how we should try to reformat our distribution plans for this other film that we're doing that will reach more people, not in a traditional way, but that will also set an example of how you don't need to have a studio backing, that you can reach the people in another way, which will then encourage other people to have more voices and more perspectives to get into the system. So I hope that when I become a studio owner, that I will at least still have a portion of me considering how to help get these perspectives in. That's my intention. I never like to say anybody's all of anything at any point. We always shift, we always grow, we always learn new things. And so in your current perspective, you view things from what you see. But when you learn more and you have more understanding, sometimes your perspectives shift. But I hope and I pray and I intend that my heart will always be love-based, like we spoke about, and that my overall purpose is to service the people. You already heard all my sports references. I think sports in general help you in community building, leadership, learning how to win and learning how to lose, and learning how to keep going when you lose to come back to win again. I played sports all the way through. I was a cross country runner. I did basketball, tennis, track, and then I marching band. Gosh darn it, that's athletic. That's hard work, especially at the HBCUs. And then I decided to join the lacrosse team for scholarship. And that I walked on, and within the next year, I became team captain. And so just understanding how to lead a team, a large team, because the lacrosse team isn't like, basketball where, you maybe got a bench of 10 or so, like our lacrosse roster is like in the 20s. And so it's like a soccer team. They're really large. And so you learn to navigate multiple personalities, who works best with people, where they should be paired, who, if somebody's doing the draw, who should be on the right side because they tend to draw this way. You get to see whose skills are, like what they're good at, what their patterns are, how to adjust to make sure, like being team captain, I got to really learn how to watch people, how to protect people too. Like as a producer, director, I'm also constantly protecting my team, my crew, my actors, and I think that a lot of that experience definitely came from sports and lacrosse, managing a very large team of young women. And so I am a huge advocate that it doesn't have to be lacrosse, it's just any sport. I just think that all children should be on or it'd be nice if they were on some sort of sports team. Because even with tennis, I played doubles. I was always on the team, just like people. So because it helps you to know when to stand your ground and know when to let, no, let's let this teammate take the lead. Let's give them the alley-oop. Let's give them the assist. They get the points. You know when to be a team player, and it's not all about you all the time. And so that's why sports are important. It teaches you that you don't always have to win. Sometimes some of the best games played, you lose. Like you got some major stats. Y'all was vibing, but they got the winning buzzer shot. That doesn't make y'all losers. That was a great game. They got it by the second, and that's that. And it teaches you how to navigate that, and it makes you, if you're a really good sportsman, want to come back that next year and beat them, right? So it doesn't make you, I would hope, go home and sulk. I would hope that like the coaching that you're having and the team experience you're having, you're learning to look at how you played, see what you could do better, and then go back out there. And that's a lot with filmmaking too. You are a huge team every set you're on. I mean, even if it's a small, tiny crew, it doesn't matter. You're still a team.
Well, I want to thank you for the interview. I think that you gave some really good insights that will help people at least considering this career,
Yeah,
something to think about.
yeah.
And so, thank you.
You're welcome. And if anybody, I always try my best to get back to people who are interested in film. If I'm very active on Instagram, it's my name. So it's I am Kelley Kali, Kelley, and then Kali. And if you DM me, I try to get back to you. Just give me time because it's like I'm usually
you're
running
busy.
around. Doesn't mean I'm ignoring you. Just message me again, okay? I need it. So if you have a question, I'm always open to answering it.